Hey, another week of the High Tech Podcast with Josh and Will. Well, I said it that way.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I froze and was like, I'm going to say something different. We never planned these openings, We never...
I mean, we've got notes right there. You could have put something on.
Well, we've got notes, but that's a different thing, I guess I could put things in there in the template. Say Will like a normal freaking human being. Welcome to the High Tech Podcast, guys and girls and people and all types of life. Welcome again to another week. Super. We really need to script some of this. Super excited for another episode this week. We're jumping into, if you've been following us, which is great. Thank you for doing that. You're awesome. We are jumping into another week of our accelerated education or accelerated learning series. But before we get into all that stuff, let's do our normal little opening thing for those who don't know it.
Drum roll, please.
Hey, Will, do you know what Twitter is?
When a bird makes noises that sound like chatter.
Yes, that's quite the definition. But it's also a social media platform. Oh. I don't know why I'm acting like Will doesn't know, because if anybody doesn't know a social media platform, it's me, not Will. But just a reminder that if you're listening to us, you haven't checked us out on Twitter, our main kind of social media platform, not main, only, at High Tech Podcast is our handle. Make sure you check us out and subscribe. We post fun stuff there every week. Mainly stuff about our episodes, but also fun memes and GIFs and things. Will's been he's been posting stuff like crazy
single
lately.
Ted Lasso GIF that I can use, I put on there.
Yes, everything possible. But subscribe and follow us on there. We'd love to connect with you on Twitter. Also, you can connect with us at inbox@hightechpod.us. This episode, I would like you to email a picture. For those of you who've maybe not been listening up to this point, we've been trying to do this thing where you email me a picture of an animal. And this week, I would like you to email me a picture of a bear. I don't think I've said bear yet, so I'm going to say bear. I'm going to be honest. I have a Star Wars poster to the side. I looked over, saw Chewbacca, and I was going to say a Chewbacca, but that's not a real animal. So let's go with a bear. I feel like this needs to be a real thing. But if you have a picture of Chewbacca that looks like a bear, you can send that too. That's fine.
And this is interesting though, because as Josh and I do, we record all over the place in all time, right? You might get an episode 3 weeks from now that we recorded 2 months ago. Like, we have no idea. In fact, an episode came out today that is probably like 7 episodes before this episode will ever air. But just a few days ago, the first person heard our first episode where we asked for an image, and they did send it to us on Twitter. Do you know who that person might be, Josh?
It was my wife.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I thought maybe it was a person I don't know.
It's a picture.
That's good too.
Of your cat, Evie.
Oh, that's nice. Did we ask for a cat picture? See, it's been so long since I've started doing this, I don't even remember where I'm at anymore.
Exactly.
I'm gonna start ending up recycling animals. People are gonna be like, I already sent that. I'll be like, I know. I don't.
I've since come to find out that a wombat is a real animal and seen pictures of wombats, but not from our
real thing.
users yet.
Yeah,
so
not
please, if you've listened to that episode.
If you don't know what that means we just said something out of order, and you'll find out later. Woo, surprise. So hit us up at inbox@hightechpod.us or Twitter @hightechpodcast. And also, if you're listening to us through one of the major podcast platforms, but you haven't checked out our website yet, please do. It's hightechpod.us. There's a theme if you haven't caught it yet. Hightechpod.us. We've had this website for a while. We put resource pages. Every episode we release, we have a page that goes along with it with some information about the tool that we talk about that day. So highly encourage you to go check it out. It's a pretty cool website. At least I think so.
I like it.
Go check that out there. Yeah, it's nice. It's a good time. Nothing crazy, but fun.
So who do we got again this week? It's Alex, right?
Yeah, that's his name, right? We've never met him before. No, I'm just joking.
Alex Wissler.
Yes, Alex Wissler. So we've got another guest. You're like, man, how do you know all these people, High Tech Podcast? And we're like, you wait. This is the end of the road.
We're just going to recycle them from here.
We're recycling. No. Alex is a good friend of Will and I's. I've known Alex for a long time. I've met him through another close friend of mine. But we do game nights with Alex. That's kind of the biggest thing. We have a group of friends that we do a game night every month about. and he's one of those people that comes. So Alex is a good guy. We've appreciated our friendship with him over the last couple of years. But the reason Alex is jumping on the podcast this week is because we've been talking about accelerated learning. And one of the concepts or things that I think is helpful to talk about in accelerated learning that keeps coming up, it's been coming up in the series already, it's that one of the driving forces behind accelerated learning is often groups of students, especially students looking for furthering education, that are also working to try to be able to do it quickly, right? And be able to do it while they're dealing with their work. I think that's one of the biggest proponents of accelerated learning. And Alex fits into that category. He's a friend of mine who has a great job, but has been thinking about how he could maybe further his education or further his experience to kind of broaden out what he wants to do. He's not actually doing it yet. He's not learning. Well, he's learning, but he's not actually in classes or anything like that
yet. He's a prospective student.
He's a prospective student. So he's a perfect, I think, case study to talk about, separate than what we did with Casey, who's already been a student. With Alex, it's kind of like he's the person that they're trying to pull in, I think, a lot of times. Yeah. And so hearing his perspective, I think, is helpful and can inform us about how accelerated learning's come to be and why it is the way it is in some ways. And so excited for you to check that out. Without further ado, I'm not going to say anything else. Let's just go talk to Alex.
We are here with Alex Wissler, a friend of ours. We play video games on Monday nights and some other times, board games. I think you're actually coming to my place this Saturday, right? We're doing that?
No, that's not
That's next Saturday, right? But
yeah. Hey, sure. 2 Saturdays from now, we're going to be board gaming. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I hope you didn't think it was this Saturday. You're just going to be sitting there like playing board game by yourself.
I don't know.
Which they actually do make a decent number of just like games targeted at the single player experience these days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
It feels a little lame rolling dice by yourself, but if it's
I actually got one because like it's supposed to be like so good, right? Under Falling Skies. And every time I like bust out to play it on like like a day I'm just like doing nothing or something, I'm just like, this would really just be better with another person. It just seems, I don't know. Solo board games just aren't quite my thing.
It's weird. It's like board games were designed to be with other people.
Yeah. We made Solitaire and that was the single player game and that was it. Everything else is pretty much 2-player or a video game, like that's what you need. Why sit there and play, I think Wingspan has a single player version, some things like that. I'm like, why? I don't really want to just look at birds by myself on a board game. If I want to do that, I would become an ornithologist and go outside with actual binoculars and look at birds.
Is that what that's called?
Did you actually just know the name for people who go to look at birds off the top of your head? Did you?
I wanted to Google it before I said yes to make sure I was but yes, I did.
You did? Wow, that's impressive.
Ornithology.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you learned something new on the High Tech Podcast.
What I would have said, but it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah, it wouldn't even been close to that. It would have been like something like Bird Guy. That would have been my.
Isn't that a superhero in the Marvel universe? Probably DC, frankly.
Bird Guy? Are you thinking of Bird Person from Rick and Morty?
No, I don't Rick and Morty. Or is it Birdman? There's
a hawk. There's like a hawk guy in DC. I don't know if his name is Hawk Guy or not. I don't remember. Hawkman.
That superhero is as lame as these single player board games.
Yeah. Anyway, we're definitely going on different tangents during this episode. So
perfect.
So we got Alex joining us this week. I've known Alex a little bit longer, as through mutual friends. He lived with a good friend of mine, and we got into playing board games, and then he moved to Lancaster. And
now we're good friends.
Yeah, now we're good friends. We don't talk to the other friend. That's actually not true. We do.
That guy's dead to us. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. He's gone. But so how long have we known each other, Alex?
I was thinking about that. Probably like, I want to say, I would have met you when I first moved in with him, so that would have been like 2011.
Oh, okay. Snap.
Oh wow, yeah, that was.
But until we like lived in the same state, like 2014.
Yeah.
From there, I think it's a done deal. So.
Yeah. I just remember going over to your parents' house for a little while, and playing board games, and you moved back into Lancaster, and doing that one fateful game of D&D that I did with you. That's only been the only game of D&D that I've played.
I know. And
that was that moment. Yeah.
That was unfortunate that didn't pan out better, but
It's fine. I had a good glorious moment. I was a dwarf. So
all I'm imagining is the Big Bang Theory episode about D&D, and that's I love the idea of D&D. I love, all games. I would probably love playing it. I've just never done it. So all I have in my mind is, Sheldon and them trying to get through a dungeon and them hating each other as they do it.
Yeah, I don't think we hated each other.
No,
we didn't hate each other. It was
you don't hate each other at level 1.
Yeah, it was fine.
Unless you do, then I don't know.
That's weird, but yeah. Anyway, so we know each other for a little while. So Alex has joined us. For those of you listening, if you forgot, we're in the middle of our accelerated education series. I think we're on episode 3, right, Will? Yeah, we're there, right? We've been recording out of order. I don't really remember what's going on. So anyway, but Alex is joining us this week. And Alex, we'll get into why we brought you in here, but tell people a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? What's life like other than the fact that you're dating a streamer and know some single player games?
Yeah. So I work. I have my bachelor's degree is in behavioral science.
Okay.
Which is like psychology, sociology, kind of hybrid deal. I work in a behavioral health hospital. Like it's an inpatient psychiatric facility. I work on the unit floors. I do a lot of different stuff there. But
well, and just because I'm a pleb and I have no idea, you do not see your facility does not see people who come in for the day or like go for a counseling session. Like people who are there for a designated amount of time or permanently.
Well, it's not. It's like meant to be short term.
Okay.
So like I said, the average length of stay is like a week or so, maybe a little less. However, so we see everything, like from adult. So it's mostly adults. There is like one adolescent unit, but it's adults with like anxiety, depression, right, suicidal ideation, things like that, who just need some help. But also adults who have like severe psychosis and like schizophrenia, things like that, who need treatment. And sometimes those individuals can be there a lot longer because they can't necessarily just because they're like sick enough that that's their kind of life. And why they can't stay inpatient, but they can't just go live independently. So they have to find like a step down place, which just takes a lot more time. There's a lot less of those resources out there. So,
gotcha.
We have had people who are there like months at a time.
And how long have you been working there?
I've worked there for just over 3 years.
Is that as long as you've been in the field, or were you in the field even before that?
Prior to that, I worked a little different, but similar. I worked in special education. I worked in emotional support classrooms. So
you really stuck in the line though of the behavioral. Like you got your bachelor's degree in that, and you've pretty well stayed in a career around that field. You haven't left it altogether or something like that.
Well, I did at one.
If you did some landscaping, you do some landscaping. I've been there, done that, but
I did landscaping of summer in college. But no, I did. So the special education job paid terrible, just terrible. And I had to work. It was a full-time job, but I still had to work a part-time job on top of that. And this was at the time when I either A, lived at home still, or B, had the cheapest living situation I ever had, sharing a house with 4 guys or 3 other guys. That was the cheapest rent ever was in my life. But still just needing 2 jobs, and I was at a point where I was like, well, that's not working for me. So then I did leave and work at a company that sells restaurant equipment.
Okay.
And they're actually so I did that for a little over a year, and then went back, and that's when I started at the hospital.
Gotcha. Now, as a part of that work in that field, when you were in special education, that's definitely more schools focused or whatever, but do you have continuing education as a part of your everyday job? It sounds like a field that might have something like that. Annual things, or
not education in the sense of certifications necessarily or anything like that.
Sure.
More stuff on how to do your job better. basic stuff like that, right? Like those kind of like in-job educations.
Like here's how to clock in and clock out, or like actually how to handle a patient better, or how to like address certain kinds of things.
I mean, both, really. Yeah.
Okay,
like,
good. Sure. Want to make sure you can clock in and clock out, but
right. So, and I do, not trying to toot my own horn, but I do a lot more things than like the average person at that facility, right? So I am one of our verbal de-escalation instructors, right? So every new hire who comes in gets a day of verbal de-escalation training. I'm one of the people who trains that. We use physical intervention systems, so like it's inpatient psych. Sometimes someone's unsafe, harm to themselves, harm to others. You have to physically hold them down.
Yeah.
I also do our training in that thing. And yeah, they want me to become a CPR instructor. They want me to become a super user for our digital documentation stuff.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So there's definitely things that are like consistently challenging you to do more. Like, I don't know. I don't know anything about the mental health field except that like most of the folks, my friends in that space, are counselors or whatever, who, they've got a master's degree or whatever. So like, as we are trying to position today's episode, you don't have your master's degree yet, but there are certain things where they're like pushing you to do more for your responsibilities. Not necessarily like, here's how to level up, but they want you to do CPR. They want you to do more than what you already know.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have my master's because
more schooling. Yeah.
More schooling.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Also, okay, so with like, so my degree, behavioral science, right? It's like super general and like most undergrad degrees are, for especially in human services, right? It's like social work, psychology, behavioral science, sociology, whatever it is. And then when you get your master's degree, it's like something super specific.
Right.
And so
if you're not like yet ready for whatever that is,
specific thing,
right?
But yeah.
Oh, I have no idea what that's like. I just board game all the time, do a podcast, attend social events, co-working facilities, do my full-time job, which has 6 different things. I don't want to specialize in one thing. What are you talking about? It's boring.
Yeah. Well, and going back for school, that's the other element of it, right? Well, yeah, we both did it because we're idiots. No, that's not true. But like,
I can confirm.
Yeah, where they show us. We like punishment. That was why we decided to do it, But I think I guess the question talking through, Alex, is like the reason we thought about bringing you on for this, aside from the fact that we just thought it'd be fun to talk with you. And
that's what Josh said, at least.
Yeah, Will was like, I hate that guy. Why would we bring him on? I was like, Will,
he kills me in Valorant too much. Why do I want to talk to him?
Well, if we didn't talk to anybody who killed you and I in Valorant, we wouldn't talk to anybody. Like, that's basically...
In our friend groups, Josh and I are the killing fodder. We are the ones at the bottom of the 100%.
Ranks,
adding everyone's kills up.
It's, you're bad when so guys, if you don't play Valorant, which is, if you listen
to all of you, anyone listening,
most of you, I don't know. But there's like an auto balance feature, right? So like basically auto balances the teams. That your Will and I are the worst, but some of the worst, when like I'm always getting auto balanced with the better players, like because
and Josh and I are never on the same team. It always puts Josh and I on opposite teams.
Yeah, games like we got to put that guy with the guy who actually knows what he's doing, because don't worry, it'll level out. He'll die a lot. And anyway, so but part of the reason I wanted to bring Alex on is that, Alex, you've been talking for a little while and just like bring up in conversation like this idea of like trying to figure out wanting to do some type of other stuff, like education wise, or even like, but to where I think your perspective is interesting is like you realize some of what you want to do, but you also really don't want to deal with having to do schooling again, which is understandable. Yeah, not at all. So like talk through a little bit about what's been going on in that area, like what you've been thinking around, what you've been trying to figure out.
Sure. Okay. So, well, I do actually really like my job.
Yeah.
But working in an inpatient facility is very stressful. Okay.
No doubt.
Yes. I'm also, again, just like in my role there, if like a patient is like really dysregulated and like causing a ruckus, it's like, hey Alex, can you come over to the unit and like try to talk to this person or whatever? And I'm like, great, yeah, and it's like very stressful, right? So it's just something that like even though I like it, I'm like, I can't do this forever.
Right. And if you're too good at that stuff, you're gonna keep doing that stressful stuff.
Right.
Like everybody wants Alex to do it. You're the fixer.
And and there's like an element of just like that is just like putting myself in like harm's way essentially, because like people do get hurt, right? And again, we do everything we can to make sure everything's done safely, and we do our best to like always verbally de-escalate a situation, right? Of course. But there is like the reality of just like people are really dysregulated, people are really sick, things just don't always go that way.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But yeah. So, just think about like what all's out there, like where opportunities are. Obviously, apparently technology is like here to stay, right? It's not like going to go anywhere. So it's
what?
Well, you never know. It could still be a fad. Maybe it's been like a solid decade fad.
The typewriter was technology. It came and went.
I guess I mean more like computers and stuff, Will. But yeah, I guess you're right. Sure. But no. The one like the most fortunate thing about my situation is I don't have like college debt right now that I'm like paying back. It's
gotcha.
So that's like
okay.
So the idea of doing something that's gonna give me debt is just I don't like it. I don't like that idea.
I don't know why. It's so much. Speaking of somebody who does have plenty of it, it's just so much fun. Really, I like those bills.
Yeah.
He just got done talking about stress, Josh. He doesn't want more.
And again, I know every job has its stress and like, of course, right? But for me to like do the job I'm currently doing and then like go to school on the side doesn't sound remotely like anything I want to do.
Yeah, Monday Night Valorants would take a hit, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Probably, yeah. I don't think you can get credit for that in a class, unfortunately. Maybe you can,
which is dumb.
Esports is showing up. There are starting to be some bachelors of esports. So
yeah, my school was supposed to be starting an esports team. That's for reals.
What?
Yeah. I don't think it actually happened because they were like, "Hey, athletics department, do it," and they were like, "What are video games?"
You're spelling sport wrong. What's this E doing here?
What is this? Why is there an E here?
We speak English, Josh. What the heck? What is this? Sports?
What is this? What is this? A sports thing? Yeah. So anyway, gosh, sorry. Yeah. So time would be an issue. Like, and to your point, Alex, why I think you, to some of the stuff you're mentioning is it's like immediately you're picking up, I think, on some of the big things that we hear all the time. I remember hearing this, like, it's money and time are two major factors to anybody doing any type of schooling, right? Like, I'll be the first to admit, as somebody who works at a college, it's not cheap. It's kind of stupid how much money it is to do education right now. And it does suck up a good bit of time, for sure, especially when you're trying to do it at work. Speaking of somebody like Will and I both know this firsthand, right? We both did schooling while doing jobs, and I'd love to say it was a super fun experience the entire time. When
I started my master's degree, I was doing so much, and by the time I ended my master's degree, I was only doing my master's degree. Like, all my hobbies stopped. I was contracting. There was nothing. I was doing martial arts. I was teaching. Nope. I stopped teaching. I stopped doing contracting. I stopped doing my hobbies. Like,
there's nothing more fun than coming home at night and being like, okay, I'm done with work for the day. I'm now going to write like a 12-page paper and read, 700 pages of reading by Wednesday.
And like that's like the like I don't live to work, right? I work to live. So like the idea of just not having the things in life that I enjoy doing, it's just like, is that even worth it?
Well, so debt and time, money and time are coming up, but like if we were to paint the picture, like, okay, you're writing your meal ticket, This is the accelerated learning program of your dreams. Clearly, it would be free. Clearly,
Sure.
it wouldn't take too much time. But what would be your wish list be? Like, what was those things that make it stellar for you? You know, did you hate writing papers? Would you want it to like be no papers? Would you want it to be project heavy? Like anything like that?
I think definitely more project heavy in that sense. And even like, you know, if it's like money, like I like some money saved. If I could like just stop working for, and there's like boot camps out there, right? That take, I don't know, 6 weeks to 3 months or whatever they
Right.
are.
Your summer, for
You know,
instance, or something.
right. I could survive for that. Like I could like stop working and survive and like do that and then get a new job hopefully and it'd be all good.
Yeah.
But what else would I want out of it? So I've looked into like a few different programs. Like one thing I looked into was like some Google certificates, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I cannot and maybe I'm just like terrible at job searching or something. I can't like just search up jobs you can get with a Google certificate and then like boom, like here's your job you can get with only your Google certificate.
Yeah.
Right.
And like
Well, and the only one that
So I'd
comes to
want-
mind
yeah,
when you say that, the one that comes to mind when you say that, like I see the opposite. There's certain jobs out there where you have to have a PMP, a project management something. I forget what the full PMP, but like you can't get a project manager job at some places unless you've got the PMP. And meanwhile, I have tons of project managers in my company who don't have the PMP. Like it's not a requirement truly, but some companies want that thing. But like when it comes to Google certificates, yeah, like I see a lot of my K-12 colleagues, teachers. I've got it's like every other week. Look at this certificate I got. Look at this certificate I got, because they always are doing some sort of continuing education. But that's not. It's not like each certificate's $1,000 on their salary or something. Like it's just to show that they're doing continuing education. Those certificates are not going to help them be more job marketable generally. And now they're pretty they're all over the place. So a lot of folks have them. So is it really going to make the difference in an interview?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does your work have like a oh gosh,
Like a
complete brain
like
fart,
a
like
pay you
yes,
for
yeah, reimbursement plan.
They have some sort of it. I don't. So like, but I think
Some places do like a percentage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it'd basically be like, I'm going to be a nurse or I'm going to be like a social worker.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have to
or
really
maybe if I'm going to
specialize.
be like a psychiatrist or something. Yeah, it has to relate to the work you could do in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So I couldn't like be like, okay, I'm gonna go get like a bachelor's in IT. Even though I mean we have an IT person, right? But I don't think they're gonna be like, well, we have our IT person. We're not gonna like
pay for that.
Yeah, they're trying to put you on a certain track that fits within where you're
unless
at
like
already.
I mean, unless they like do it for the like the parent company as a whole, then like maybe they would consider doing it that way. But I know it's not like they're paying the whole thing or anything like that. It's just like I don't think it's that great. I mean,
yeah,
right. Any free money is free money, right? But
well, and what we've talked about already, if you get the free money to help with that, you still lose time. You like getting into that kind of academic program is going to cost you time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So, go ahead.
No, you're good.
So like we all done our bachelor's degree. You did 4 years, a 4-year program. You didn't do any sort of like community college and transfer or anything.
No, it was a 4-year degree.
Yeah. Josh, you did your degree was like 3 or something years.
Well, I did because
your master's degree.
Transferred. My master's.
No, sorry,
degree,
your master's. Yeah, my bad.
Sure, 3.5. I don't remember anymore how long it took.
Mine was like 18 months, 20 months.
It was supposed to be 3 years. I think it ended up being 4 because I added the second. Like I got 2 technically through my degree.
Yeah. And we're all within a couple of years of each other's age, so it's kind of like you get into these things, and if you're going to do a master's degree, like the traditional ones were much longer. Like the idea that most of the master's degrees are now like 2 years is because of these accelerated programs where you just do it nonstop. You go through the summer. They might be shorter classes, like 6-week or 8-week classes and stuff like that. Have you done any examples of that? Did you ever take summer classes, shorter classes where it's like online or anything, or was it always traditional all the way through?
Well, kind of both. So the way I actually did most of my schooling was online.
Okay.
And I would do like accelerated courses. So like in a like semester, right? Like the first like 7 weeks would be like one class.
Oh.
And it'd be like much more loaded up, and then the next 7 weeks would be a different class.
Oh yeah.
Dang.
Okay,
I mean, so I'd have like I'd only have like 2 or 3 classes at a time, as opposed to like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But they were like slightly heavier workloads.
Yeah, I mean that would have been probably their like you probably would have been. Now, were you doing that with doing like any traditional type of courses? Was it, or was that like
that was all? Literally,
you were doing just basically 7-week courses back to back. Does that make sense? Were you doing like full semester that were like 14 weeks?
Yeah, like some classes weren't offered in that format.
Okay.
It's like the school I went to is like it was geared. So I was working and like I worked like retail at the time, and that college was geared towards people who were like didn't have the opportunity to like go like work, do a normal like school schedule, or didn't have the opportunity to like go to college after high school, and they're like going back, or they want to like start a new career or something, right? So they did a lot of things to aid those kind of people.
So that's honestly, you've already had more experience with accelerated learning than most folks. This is why we should
ask people more questions before we bring them onto the podcast, so we don't just randomly discover these things. Yeah, you basically did an accelerated program.
We just had in our minds like,
the ultimate duration.
Sure,
of
still
of the time was still like 4 years.
Yeah. It was still ended up still being 4 years. Now I'm curious, did they like maybe you don't know this or you do? Did they promise that it would be less than 4 years, or was it planned to be? Okay, so it was basically like this is going to take you 4 years to do. Okay,
yeah,
that's interesting. What was your experience with that? So like you were doing it mostly online.
I did mostly online.
What would be kind of your feedback the way that was for you? Because that's basically kind of what we're talking about. Is accelerated learning during this whole thing.
Oh man, I think. All right, how do I say this? So I definitely have always thought like certain parts of school were just like unnecessary and dumb. Okay, so I would work the system any way I could. Okay, like for example, so the classes would either just be like online, or they would be so like instead of a class being like 2 times a week for 2 hours or whatever, it'd be like 1 time a week for 5 hours.
Oh,
right.
Ooh.
But again, I think that's to like accommodate people who are like, you have this one night free, you got to take your class, like, boom, here it is, right? So you're going to all once.
Right.
And so like one time, so this class was like an in-person one, and the last day of class, there was your final paper was due, and you had to give a presentation on your paper, right? And I think this well sums up my academic abilities and work ethic for this type of thing. At least I have a good work ethic normally, but so I wrote my paper, I submitted it online, and I looked at it, and I was like, and if the presentation was worth 10% of your grade. Okay.
Oh, sure.
So I looked at my paper and I said, this is probably an A or a B. And I just didn't go to class to give my presentation.
There you go.
So
there you go. And you walk out with a B- or C+ or something, right?
Yeah,
like it didn't kill your grade. You got through the class and you moved on.
Exactly. Yeah.
In high school, I did a similar thing, but it's because I had 35 points of extra credit that I just didn't do the final. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't begrudge anybody when it's a system, right? And that's part of, hey, this is its own tangent seminar series we should do, but like, since education is a system, play the system. I don't think it should be a system like that. I want people to actually learn. I want people to actually be like lifted up by it. But I get it. Like, I've done it too. You don't, if the game's there, play it.
Yeah, I took, again, my degree's in behavioral science, and I was required to take like 2 art history classes.
Right. What? Sure.
Why?
Yeah, and do you remember anything from them?
Monet, Manet.
Great. Just 2 names.
They did art.
Names. They did art.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, I probably remember that because I think they referenced them in Seinfeld. So
that's great.
That's how I really remember it.
I don't begrudge you that, right? But it's one of those things of like, hey, this education system is just screwy and it's going to make you do that. And that's where I think like an accelerated program should actually, when you said earlier about project heavy and stuff like that, like an accelerated program, in my opinion, especially master's degrees, should be focused on the work you're actually going to do, or give you chances to practice what you're good at doing. And if you, unless you're in an art history anxiety ward where everybody who shows up specifically deals with their anxious response to, Degas and Monet.
This is a very specific situation that you're putting Alex in. I like
you don't need it. I don't see why you have to take those 2 art credits, except that people say you have to have a well-rounded education. Right? That's the joke.
Well, and you are talking the difference between like undergrad and grad. There's a little bit of a difference in the way that plays out in undergrad versus grad. But at the same time, you were doing kind of a program that was supposed to be catered towards like focused on
a professional career,
like a professional career. Yeah.
In general, I'm of the opinion that like I could do most jobs well, or at least adequately, if you just like train me to do the job instead of like, you need like this degree. But that's the system.
Well, there's a couple companies that I'm now aware of that are actually hired by big business. Hilton, by Airbnb, maybe not, that's a bad one. Walmart, by like Starbucks, right? And so they contract with these companies, and then any of their employees can get a degree through that program just by being an employee, and it's free to the employee, right? But that means somebody's on the side here making all of these courses, figuring out all the accreditation, all that crap, to then sell this huge, contract plan to Starbucks, to Hilton, to whatever. They're making big dollars on it. But you finally just get to like walk through the list. You don't have to like check, like there's so much about college and getting, signing up for your degree and getting applying and admissions. Like there's all that fluff around it. Frankly, that's just because it is the system it is. Now, if you had a job with one of these companies, they'll just like let you go into that program and go get a degree, check off the list. What I really wish it was more about like, we could give you a degree in, if it's Hilton, like, and they probably do, but like in hospitality, right? So you're going to focus in everything you're going to do is in that. And you don't need the art history class. You don't need life science class. I remember trying to take my like algebra 1, like it was everything I had done in high school. I just had to do one of those in college. Why? Yeah. So I think the opportunity is there, but we need more companies and more people demanding that so that, the market drives it.
Yeah. And just before I forget, I'm going to jump back to something you said.
Yeah.
Jeez. Alex screamed real loud.
Got really scary.
So one thing that as much as like that online was like, there's some dumb things about it and stuff. You want like the program to have like a structure, right? So
sure.
That's one of the appeal when I'm looking at like what else is out there. Like those Google certificates have like a structure, right? Like you complete this and this, and it'll take this much time, and what pace do you want to move at, things like that. I also looked into the CompTIA Plus certification.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm sure somewhere out there exists a course for it, but you don't need that to complete certification. You can completely study on your own. And then I found like a guy out there who has like a nice like video series on everything, things like that. But I found that hard without like some sort of like structure to like course structure. I think would have been like more beneficial for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like to your point, you can get a lot of content online or things that you can look at. But one of the advantages in some of the system, while it can be frustrating, is that some of the built structure. I mean, like Will and I know this because it's literally what we're about doing, right? It's like building learning structures in courses and like making sure that it's not just
big
the wild
advocates.
west of here. Yeah, the wild west of here's 30 videos, watch these, and then tell us what you thought you learned.
Good luck on the final.
Good luck on the final. Like actually building a structure that helps guide people to learning actual concepts and to what they're working on. And so there's an advantage in that, to your point. And even some of the certifications, like Google certificates, they have structures to them. I mean, they have people in the equivalency of what Will and I do, doing stuff like that, designing those certificates. All have people designing the content and pulling it together. And Google does a good job with that. I mean, especially for their certifications. There's several others that would do that for sure.
Yeah, the guy like you were saying, the guy who did the videos for CompTIA, like they're good videos, like he covers everything as far as I know, but just like you're not gonna learn to do the things just by watching the videos. You're gonna learn like what they are and stuff. But that is actually the one like job opportunity that I would have come across, and I just happen to know someone I work with. Their husband works for IBM.
Oh wow!
Is it IBM? It's IBM. Yeah, and if you get the CompTIA Plus certificate, their Security Plus, and I believe Networking Plus certificates, just those 3 certificates, you qualify for this like apprenticeship at IBM.
Oh, that's cool.
Then complete the apprenticeship, you have a job.
Right.
Okay.
It's an on ramp without a degree.
Right.
Like, get these 3 certificates, you can start here.
Yes. I mean, and not that they like take everyone who does that, right? But it's an option.
Yeah.
But that is the one opportunity that like I truly know of, like to just get those 3 certificates and like do that. And that just, I only know that because I didn't tell like many people I was looking into this CompTIA thing, and I don't know why I told that person.
Yeah.
But then they were like, oh, like my husband works at IBM, like he knows a bunch of this stuff, and he was like, yeah, get these 3 certificates and you can do this. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's networking for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
100%. Yeah, but what I'm hearing a little bit, and I think just bringing some stuff home, is like there's this really like this list that seems to be popping up from what you're looking at is like obviously some of the big ones of like if you were to go do something, you don't want to spend a ton of insane amount of money and be in debt, and you want it to be able to be kind of, I think you were talking about like you would be fine with intensive stuff, right? Like as long as you knew you had like a focused time that you could kind of commit to getting something, and like a clear structure and path. Like at the end of the day, you want to know that whatever you're doing is focused on getting you somewhere. Like whether it's like an IBM, IBM structure.
I want to know that what I'm doing is like going to give me that opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, whether like, I have to apply to like 40 places, but like, that's whatever. But like, then at least I know 40 places are going to look at this thing and like consider it valid for a job.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's a checkbox item. I look at job descriptions like 3 to 5 years of this, or this, you need the PMP or that, all these, and it's like I want that job. I just need to check the box, and I get it. Like there's a lot of folks, even just friends of mine personally, like that struggle with that. They can't get through that first barrier to jobs. I've started to see some more places drop the degree requirement, which is interesting. I think that's a good thing in the market, to just expand who's available to get jobs. But at the end of the day, I think that these accelerated learning programs, really should meet that need, because if you aren't trying to go through the college experience, then you are somebody who's supporting themselves or in a full-time job or something where you need that flexibility to accomplish the broader degree program.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am definitely. I mean, I know some people do this, right? Like they just lie about having those boxes checked for the ones you can.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like
Yeah.
you can't produce a certificate you don't have necessarily. I mean, if you really knew the right people, you could. But
Well, and when I applied for jobs in higher education,
they're like PDFs.
Right. Josh and I have made them.
I've built them. It's literally just a PDF.
When I worked for higher education, both of the times I worked at different institutions, yes, my transcript was a part of my hiring process. I had to provide my transcript. When I just got my job in corporate this past year, no one asked me about my undergrad GPA, my grad GPA, about my education at all, or about my transcript. So yeah, I could have lied, which my resume had all those boxes checked, right? But I actually had done those things, so I didn't have to. But you know what I mean?
It's like that moment you graduated from Harvard. I mean, that was a lie.
Right.
Oh, whoops! I didn't do that.
Yeah, Will said he had like 17 master's degrees, but it's fine.
It was 14 and a half, okay, and I'm ABD on 3 doctorates. Wow, okay, that fell flat. So,
yeah, it wasn't the right crowd. You didn't be there.
Geographical joke, as my dad used to say.
Yeah.
All right, dude. I appreciate this. I think this has been pretty insightful to say. Like, we're in this 3-part series. This is a 3rd episode. The next episode, Josh and I are going to be like just debriefing and taking apart. Like, we've talked to somebody who designs courses, somebody who's in one of these programs right now, and then you've considered it. You're not sure if you do it. There's so many different layers to it. Really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Of course, no problem. I actually think I thought of this earlier today. I'm pretty sure one time when I found out you guys had a podcast, I said either both of you or it might have just been to Swartz. I was like, "Oh, do you want me to be on your podcast?" And you were like, "Well, do you work in the technology field or whatever?" And I was like,
"Education or technology?"
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, no, but."
I think I remember this. I'm pretty sure it was Oliver's basement. It was a game night.
It's very true. We were like probably like 2 episodes in.
And now here I am. You guys come crawling on your knees asking me to be on your show.
After we did 40 episodes, we were like, "Dang it, we're out of content." We're like, I guess we'll just let's talk to Alex. You know, like what's he doing? Is he just
That's great?
Full circle. Here I am.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate you taking the time with us. We're gonna wrap up the episode in just a moment here, but I hope that this, maybe this has helped you process maybe your next steps. Who knows if you're gonna do it or not, right? What do you think?
Bro, I don't know.
Yep, there it is. Love it.
I don't think that was Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cheers. I'll wrap here in just a second. I don't think I can ever say it enough. Thank you to our guests. Thank you for people who were taking the time to give us a little bit of insight into their lives, their experience, what's going on as they see education. It, to me, was really helpful to hear from a prospective student. Again, that's kind of the role, if you will. Like, we've talked about personas, Josh. Like, that's the persona I'm putting Alex in. He could be a student if
absolutely
certain things were met. I think it was really clear that like maybe that's not for him. It might not really be what comes out. But
and I think that's like Alex is a good picture of, and he would admit this himself. Like listen, we're education nerds, okay? Like, let's just be real. No. You and I didn't hate college.
Right.
We worked in education.
Right.
We like designing and thinking about how people learn and do all that. Like, Alex could care less about that stuff. Like, so like he fits kind of this bill of like, I think just a very different perspective than what we've had for the last couple of weeks, which is somebody like at the end of the day is just like, he just needs to get something to be able to do something. So like he's very practical when coming to this.
And it's true that he's looking for opportunity, right? He either wants promotion or new things at his current job, or what could a master's degree do for him for other jobs, right? And it was true for my experience, right? I was looking for a master's degree that would give me more authority in my field, more opportunity in my field, and it worked. I moved on to other job opportunities because of it. So it makes sense that the things he's looking for, though, would be like reduced time effort. the lower opportunity for debt or no debt. I thought it was really cool that I think like maybe the more technical thing that he referenced for us was the idea of like looking at structure. He really wants to see something that's quite structured, because he's right. There's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube and even LinkedIn Learning, if you have access to that. There's a lot of material to learn if you want to, just for learning's sake. But you really do need a structured degree program to get you to something that's actionable in a career or a change of career.
Yeah. I mean, if we could make any argument of why some of the formal education realm and having educators, people who know how to design learning, if we can make any argument of why that's helpful, is exactly to what Alex was talking about. Like, because we hear this argument in this day and age, right? Which is basically like, why do I need to go to college? I have YouTube. It's like,
yeah.
Well, aside from the fact that, like, hold on a second, and like, to Alex's point is like, sure, I could just go watch a bunch of stuff, but like, it's helpful to have like structure and it organized, and then it doesn't just mean like watch these 4 videos in this order. I think what Alex is kind of getting at is the fact that like somebody intentionally planned out, scoped out, one could say scaffolded.
Oh, weird.
What? The learning experience, like, right? And at the end of the day, that's why, like, from just like to go on an aside argument of why some of like going to somebody who knows what they're doing as far as learning design and formal education is that they're not just providing you content. They have goals in mind, and they're trying to build towards those goals and help you get towards those goals. YouTube videos aren't necessarily designed that way. Like, people don't. Some are. There's YouTube series about learning, and they have goals they want to get you to, but they're not. Anyway, so I thought that was cool that like Alex kind of brought that out. That like at the end of the day, he would like some structure to it. Now, I would like to, I think, jump onto this, and you started to kind of talk about it, because I think if we could break up how Alex kind of, Alex's thoughts about this, I would put it this way. At the end of the day, Alex is a prospective student, right? So let's put him into this category of kind of, at the end of the day, the person that, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, I think accelerated learning is trying to get at, which is essentially like the student who doesn't have time to go do traditional undergraduate stuff, or is looking for graduate work, like wants to get a master's degree or something like that. They want something that's they can get done faster, they can do in the midst of while they're doing other work, like doing their jobs and things like that. That prospective student, he does line up with some of the stuff that they say people are looking for, which is like they want to be able to get it done faster. They want it, and part of the reason they want to be able to get it done faster is because he doesn't want to be in debt. He doesn't want to be spending a whole bunch of money for multiple years. He wants to be able to get that done quicker, so he's not stuck in debt as he's going through it. And so like, and the time commitment, like he only has so much time. He has a job, he has family, he has friends. Like, he doesn't have time to just like completely destroy his life for years working on it.
I mean, what? The rest of us did it. Why can't he?
Yeah, why can't he? No. So like, to the point of the people who are arguing that this is what people are asking for, Alex does fit that bill. Like, he does want a handful of those things, right?
And then it makes sense.
It's not made up.
When, you and I have both been in conversations or heard from people on the marketing side and the administration side and the student services side that these are the priorities. We have to make it fit this. We have to, like, because I think Josh and I might see from the design side that the prioritization of time or money or efficiency can reduce the opportunity for it to be good learning. If we make it too short, if we cut too many corners, it can negatively impact the learning experience itself. But because the prospective student, because even Casey needed a shorter program, she needed something that was online, right? Like, from these episodes we're having with folks who are students or could be students, we're hearing that it's true what we know about the market. We want it shorter, we want it easier, we want it to be convenient. That leaves the challenge up to the learning design folk, the people who help actually deliver the content, to try and do it in as quick of a fashion as possible because we're told to, but we are the ones that carry the cross, if you will. Like, it must still be good learning. We die on the hill of good learning, and that's always going to be the challenge. I'm so thankful that Alex was still able to point to something that I agree with and would see as a pillar of good, master's or graduate level learning in an accelerated program. projects. He wanted that. He said that would be more effective or more interesting to him. And I found that to be a really good part of my master's degree. Those courses that were project heavy, or that I could use projects for work and work for projects, they were critical. I learned so much from them. And I can recall lessons learned from those. Whereas, like read these 3 chapters and write a discussion forum might not have settled with me as well.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, he talked about very project heavy, and Alex is definitely coming from this like perspective that like he wants to get this learning so that he can go do something with it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for him, he's not the learning nerd like ourselves, and like the essence of learning doesn't necessarily excite him. It's just like, I want to get this so I can do this.
Yeah,
like I want to be able to go here. I want to be able to do that. And so for him, it's like I would love if it was more project practical heavy. He used stuff like intensive. For those of you who don't know some of the stuff he's referencing, he's looking into some of like the IT technical stuff. So he's using stuff like boot camp, like terminology that's like becoming a thing in
come for 6 weeks
like
or come for 2 months
world,
and then
like
we'll come out
for
with
6 weeks or 2 months and learn this skill, right? And get a certificate to prove that you know how to do this. Like there's that type of stuff, but that's kind of what he's looking for. And I think it's not out of the question to say that there's a good portion of the persona or people, right, that accelerated learning is targeting that are a lot like Alex, which are that like they want something that they're coming back because they want to get this, learning experience degree so that they can go to this job or this situation or, get this promotion or do. And it sounds, for those of us who, and some of my more idealistic faculty members that I've worked with who are like, well, that's not what this is about. It's about learning. It's about the growth. And I totally agree with you. And we should help our students see that in the midst of that. You do also have to recognize that like an Alex has a house to pay for, has a car to pay for, has a family, has like the
insurance,
list goes on.
taxes,
like there's
just like the
practical
rest of
things
us.
that are driving this guy to where he wants to be. Like we can't just ignore those.
Right.
And so like, I don't know. I would say that the whole point, this episode's an interesting one where I would say the whole point, I think what you and I were talking about is to try to get a different perspective from someone who's not actually in the programs yet, but who fits the bill for somebody who would be interested. And at the end of the day, why is it important for us to hear this when we're talking about accelerated learning? Because this is at least a grouping. This is who you're designing for. Like this is who's coming into your course, whether you agree with how they feel or not about certain things.
Yeah, fair.
That there's a lot of people that are coming into your course like this. Okay? And if we go back to good design that we've talked about in the past, which are past episodes, check it out. I don't know, it's Design for Learning, parts 1 and 2 from season 1. It's a great, set. Go check that one out.
Nailed it.
If you haven't listened to it. We talk about how you're setting the goals, you're looking at who the person is, and you're asking where's the gap between where you want them to be and where they're at. So the question is, where's the gap between these people coming into your class? Because at the end of the day, I would argue it's not entirely on the student to figure that stuff out. Yes, the student needs to, eventually come with the right mindset. We should help shape them. But at the end of the day, we also are trying to design so that they can become what they need to at the end, right? So like we need to consider who they are now and rectify with the fact that, there's my
No,
soapbox.
it's perfect, Josh. So the only thing we've got to be wary of is time and the opportunity, right? So we are wrapping episode 3 in this little series, right? That's actually episode 48, but we're doing a 4-episode series. This is episode 3 where we've gotten to talk to a prospective student. Next episode, in episode 49, Josh and I are just going to take this whole thing apart, right? We've listened to a designer, we've listened to a current student, and a prospective student. Josh and I are kind of going to go back over and reflect on all this, so make sure to tune in next week for episode 49. Until then, please do find us on Twitter, at High Tech Podcast. Send stuff, especially all of the animals that Josh requests, to inbox at hightechpod.us. Today is the bear, if you do not remember. And lastly, make sure you share our website, hightechpod.us, to any of our friends, any of your friends, any of all of our friends. Make new friends and give it to them,
all the
too.
People. Yeah.
We really do appreciate that. Thank you again for joining us for this week of the High Tech Podcast. Until next week, when we continue to learn how to harness technology in the physical and digital classroom. See ya.
See ya.